A couple of years ago, if you would have told me I'd be working a full-time engineering career, trying to be a good husband, trying to be a good dad, two young boys, staying consistent in the gym, and building a YouTube channel on top of all that, I probably would have laughed or cried, maybe even both. Over the last few years, I've tried productivity apps, morning routines, planners, motivational videos, and just about every focus trick you can think of. Some helped, a lot of them didn't, but a few things made a huge difference. And by the end of this conversation, you'll know the simple habits that have helped me focus for 5 hours plus a day, even when life feels completely packed. Now, before we start, I don't consider myself some productivity expert. I'm just a regular guy trying to juggle a bunch of responsibilities. But over the last few years, I've been balancing a full-time engineering career, being a husband, raising two boys, staying consistent in the gym, and building this YouTube channel. So I've had to learn pretty quickly what actually helps me focus and what doesn't. The first thing is, there are no hacks. I know that's probably not the exciting answer. The work still has to be done. It'll probably be hard sometimes, but you can make it a whole lot easier by setting yourself up for success. Let's start with the most obvious one, your phone. Now, I'm not saying to throw it into a lake, although some days that's a pretty tempting option. But if your phone is sitting next to you while you're trying to focus, you're already making it harder on yourself. I've noticed something very interesting. Even when I wasn't touching my phone, part of my brain was still aware that it was there. It's almost like your attention is quietly leaking away. So when I really need to focus, I put my phone somewhere else, another room if possible. Because if it's within reach, eventually I'll convince myself I need to check something important. And somehow, the important thing turns into a guy pressure washing a driveway 3 states away. I don't know how that happens, but it happens. And if you have a smartwatch constantly buzzing, your wrist every few minutes, put it on Do Not Disturb. The goal is simple. Remove distractions before they become distractions. Because once your attention gets pulled away, getting it back is harder than most people realize. Another thing that has helped me a lot is doing important work early on. Now, before anybody clicks off this video, no, I'm not about to tell you to wake up at 3:47 a.m. in the morning and jump into an ice bath and listen to whale noises while journaling. That's not what this is. What I have noticed is that my focus is usually strongest before the day starts throwing things at me, before emails, before notifications, before random problems, before life starts doing what life does. When I can, I try to do the most important work before my attention gets scattered. And to be honest, it feels a lot easier because have you ever picked up your phone to check one thing and somehow 30 minutes just disappeared? Me too. Another thing that works surprisingly well for me is using a timer and actually respecting it. For example, let's say I set a timer for 1 hour. That hour only counts if I actually focused. If I grab my phone, the timer stops. If I start browsing random stuff, the timer stops again. If I start doing something unrelated, the timer stops. It's simple. What surprised me though was realizing how much of what I called working was actually focused work. I thought I worked for 3 hours. In reality, maybe just 1. The rest was switching tabs, checking messages, looking things up, getting distracted, doing quick tasks. And we all know real quick is one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves. The timer forces honesty, and honesty is a powerful productivity tool. By the way, if you're enjoying this video and it's helping you so far, I'd really appreciate it if you took a second to tap that like button and subscribe. All right, let's keep to it. Another big one is planning tomorrow before tomorrow gets here. One thing I've learned that decisions take energy. And if you spend the first hour of your day trying to figure out what you should do, you've already lost some momentum. So before I end the day, I try to decide what's important tomorrow. That way, when I start, I can start moving, not standing there wondering where to begin. Now, let's talk about one of the strangest things I've tried, doing nothing. Seriously, some people recommend sitting quietly and staring at a wall. And to be fair, that's probably better than scrolling social media, to be honest. But I found something that works even better than that. It's called NSDR, non-sleep deep rest. I first heard about it from Andrew Huberman. The idea is very simple. You spend around 10 minutes in a deeply relaxed state without fully falling asleep. The way I do it is pretty straightforward. I put on headphones, find a guided NSDR session, lie down, and follow along. The first time I tried it, I thought it sounded ridiculous. I remember thinking, shouldn't I be working right now? I honestly expected it to be one of those internet tips that sounds life-changing, but does absolutely nothing. Kind of like those videos that tells you to eat that one spoonful of those random superfood, transform your life. But after 10 minutes, I felt noticeably better, more focused, less stressed, more mentally refreshed. It's one of those things that sounds strange until you try it. And for such a small time investment, the benefits can be huge. Now here's the thing, that has probably helped me more than anything else. Systems. You've heard me talk about this before because it genuinely changed how I think. Most people focus on goals, but goals don't help much on the days when you don't feel motivated. Systems do. A system is simply a process you follow consistently. If you want to get stronger, your system might be going to the gym a certain number of days every week. If you want to improve a skill, your system might be practicing that skill every day. The specifics don't matter as much as consistency because motivation is great, but motivation is kind of like that friend who says he'll help you move, then suddenly stops answering texts when it's time to carry the couch. Systems show up even when motivation doesn't. For me, the biggest progress in my life has almost never come from giant bursts of motivation. It comes from boring consistency, showing up, doing the work, repeating it, not perfectly, just consistently. And to be honest, that's not always exciting, but it works. Another thing that helps is having a dedicated place to focus. Your brain starts associating that place to work. Focus becomes easier if you're removing friction. For a while, I was editing videos wherever I could find a quiet moment. Sometimes that felt harder than the editing itself, but having a consistent place to work made a noticeable difference. Your brain learns. When I sit here, this is what we do. And finally, sleep. I know, not the most exciting advice, but it might be the most important. When I sleep well, everything feels easier. Focus is easier. Discipline is easier. Patience is easier. The gym is easier. Being a better husband is easier. Being a better dad is easier. It's honestly amazing how much better life works when you're well rested. So if you're trying to improve your focus, don't overlook the basics because the basics are usually doing more work than we give them credit for. The truth is, I don't focus for 5 hours because I have more discipline than everyone else. I focus for 5 hours because I've learned to protect my attention. And when life gets busy, protecting your attention becomes one of the most valuable skills you can have. If you're feeling overwhelmed right now, don't try to implement everything from this conversation. Pick one thing, just one. Try it for a week. You might be surprised how much progress comes from one small change repeated consistently. And if nobody has told you this lately, keep going. The fact that you're trying to improve is already a step in the right direction. Thank you for spending a few minutes of your day with me, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm Milo Sanchez. Take care.